So good morning and welcome everybody. Thank you so much for participating in this workshop. So today we'll be talking about how to effectively communicate your commercial offer and value proposition. My name is Richard McGuinness. I'm a business development manager for the University of Salford. And just really quickly to explain how this morning will be structured. So it will be 1 hour. We'll spend roughly half an hour where Naomi will share her insights with regards to communicating your commercial offer and your value proposition. We will then turn the tables. So we're going to try and keep as interactive as possible. And then for around 15 minutes, 20 minutes perhaps, we will then turn the tables and any questions you have specifically with regards to your company or the topic. We will then try to answer them, and then the final 10 minutes we will go through a little bit about the Help to Grow program. This is kind of a taster session of one of the modules of that program, so we'll explain a little bit about that right at the end. So Naomi, thank you so much for joining yourselves. Perhaps you can introduce yourself a little bit about your many hats, and over to you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Good to see some familiar faces on this Zoom on this fine morning. We've got like grey blue skies in Sale. I don't know what it's like where you are. So my name's Naomi. I am a freelance growth and innovation consultant. I spend half my time working with people with their very early stage ideas on things like their value proposition, who their customers are. I've designed, developed and delivered several entrepreneurship programs for the private and public sector. And I spend the rest of my time working with businesses that want to scale and grow. And usually we end up coming back to things like your value proposition. So when I was asked to do this workshop, I jumped at the chance because I think it's really, really important. And it's something I think that can evolve, and it's something that you have to keep looking at as a business. I am an honorary fellow, industry fellow at the University of Salford Business School. I've been working at Salford for about 12 years. I was one of the mentors, or the lead mentor on the Help to Grow program when they had the in-house mentors. And I also was chair of the industry advisory board, just a normal regular board member now. I'm also heavily involved in a lot around digital skills, and the businesses that I tend to work with are from the tech, digital, creative sectors, but I have worked with manufacturers, FMCG, you name it, I have come across them. Would be really great to know a little bit more about the people on the call that we've got now. So if you could really quickly just use the chat feature and just tell me what it is that you do. Just tell me what industry you're from and what you do. So, essentially, what's your value propositions? That's what I'd be interested to know. So if you can just use the chat feature, just type one sentence about what you do and what industry that is. That would be fantastic. Okay, I'm waiting for all these to come into the chat. Okay, so Nikki, I'm the Global Commercial Manager for SME with a biomedical research industry. Okay, thank you. Oh, they're coming in really quick now. So Amin's a Commercial Manager, SaaS, all-round nice guy. That's good. You've given your value proposition there, Amin. Rick from iAcoustic, we specialise in acoustics. Okay. Gail, we're an online specialist in working at height. Tawanda, I'm a membership advisor for the Membership Federation of Small Businesses. Michael, HR Tech Comprehensive Solution, covers every aspect of employer-employee relationships. Daniel, Media, NTR Media, we're a specialist localization audio production company operating in the aviation sector. Okay, I'm interested to hear a bit more about that one. So Hannah's a freelance HR consultant, SME, wealth of knowledge and experience. David, Wilford Smith Solicitors, we help companies and organisations with staff issues, HR consultancy as well. Bethany, Development Executive for Marsh Commercial, working with SMEs. Bethany, I'd love to know what you do with SMEs. Nathan, I'm an SDR for Workspace 365, a digital workspace working to reduce IT complexity in the workspace. Dimitri, sales director for a surveying company, specialising in reducing business rates and lease consultancy for businesses. Stuart, I work as a BDM for JA, offering custom branded umbrella, payroll and accountancy software. Jeff, creative director of digital design, development and marketing agency. Mel, brand solutions and innovations manager for Comply Direct. We are, oh yeah, I know who you are. We are an environmental consultancy company. Hannah, commercial director, design and manufacture of retail furniture. Saba, scientific consultant with a new educational health med tech startup. So Saba, you need to be telling us what that health med tech startup is. Melanie, I'm a consultant focusing on people and culture, an IIP practitioner and freelance facilitator, mission to make work better. Sue, BDM for Attain Digital, website creative and marketing specialist. And we've got Diane, who's an accountant from DCW, Accounting Limited, an accountant for RC Solutions Pitch Care, who specialise in pitch care maintenance. Are you talking as in football pitch, I take it, Diane? Yeah? We're talking about pitch care as in football pitch? Yeah. Okay. All right, brilliant. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
So we've got a couple of people, and I'm just wanted to come back to Saba, actually. You said that you're a scientific consultant with a new educational health med tech startup. Could you talk to us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, this was a concept. It's still very conceptual. I did go to a sort of a tech event at the Bruntwood SciTech building, and so I am working with Innovate UK Edge at the minute to sort of develop that concept into an actual product. And sort of the part that I've come to, which I'm sort of struggling with, are the minimal viable product and the value propositions.
Okay.
But it's essentially so it's essentially a software to help sort of researchers in order to sort of collate all the, it's like a tool with, you know, all the published data, but also all the unpublished data. So quite a lot of the time in science, you know, you could spend 3 years doing a PhD and all of that is negative data. You've not published anything. But then the next person comes along and works on the same area of research and they're starting from scratch again. So that's just a waste of research. It's a waste of resources and money and reagents. So what I wanted to do is essentially have a platform where you have all the published data. So you have all the tools that help scientists to come together, and it will be scientists from all over the world. So if you had, say, a dedicated forum that was just for, I don't know, you know, how do we use stem cells to treat Alzheimer's? So you had all the subject matter experts from all around the world working on that forum. So, and then there are tools as well in order to get the publications and everything that you need in order to understand that better. And I really wanted to have some VR and AR as well, because a lot to do with science is 3-dimensional. You know, a lot of biology is, you know, you can't really get it from a textbook because it's very, you know, it's just flat. So I wanted to really understand. I wanted people to be able to come together and actually understand, well, this is what a healthy neuron looks like, and this is what a healthy neuronal pathway looks like, and this is what a diseased state looks like. And I wanted that to be in 3D, so that you could really understand it and really tackle sort of like global healthcare issues, but also at the same time to not waste people's time and data. So, you know, if you have spent 3 years working on a project and you've never published that, you know, I wanted to sort of find that sort of Bermuda Triangle of like lost data in areas where, you know, you just don't do any more research because there's so much negative data already on it. So you're not starting from the scratch. You've actually got, you know, actually like a database of negative data, which I wanted to call lost knowledge. So I wanted to have somewhere where you had all the published data, and, you know, ways to accelerate your research, but also ways to look at areas that you just wouldn't apply for more funding, and you wouldn't go down that area just because, you know, there's already so much negative data on that, you know, particular subject.
And just one more quick question. So Innovate UK, I take it that they're helping you with your value proposition?
Yeah, so they actually, they kind of directed me to this because that was the point at which, you know, we were really struggling, or I was really struggling with the pains and gains and things like that. So they did say, oh, maybe this would help you.
Okay, cool. Right, well, we're going to do it in layman's terms today.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'm going to pass you back to Richard, who's our host.
Thank you. So, I mean, I
Good.
guess there are a few questions, I have with regards to kind of the value proposition, to start with, which characteristics make a good one, and which ones make let's say, a not so good one? With all the companies you've worked with, what have you seen and what has really stood out?
Okay, so let me just tell you what a value proposition is first. So basically, it's a statement that explains your product or service does, who it's for, and why it's better than the competition, for example. But that is literally it's a couple of sentences, if not one sentence. The best ones are short and sweet. So essentially, when you are communicating it, whether it is online or offline, you should be able to say in one sentence what your value proposition is, and it's something that people really struggle with. So just sort of historically from businesses that I've come across, even businesses that have been working for years and years, sometimes they find it very difficult to still explain what it is that they do. So you've got like your commercial offer. So again, your commercial offer is a proposal or a message that a business sends to its potential customers, but that value proposition is a key message. And I think probably the best way for us to sort of have a look at it, Richard, if you can share that canvas, and I can talk everyone through that, because the best place to start when you're crafting a value proposition statement is by looking at what's called a value proposition canvas. I'm really a big fan of having everything on one page. So I'm a big fan of the business model canvas, and I'm a big fan of value proposition. And you can get a free download of the value proposition from Strategizer. But essentially, it's a methodology of really looking and examining, who your customers are, what problems that they've got, and what jobs that they need to have done. Looking at what their wants and their fears and their needs are, and what the benefits and features of your product are. So if you can share that one, I'm going to talk you through it. So you can see here, we've got a box and we've got the circle. So the box represents what the product is. So what the benefits are, what the features are, what the experience looks like. And then we've got the customer. So you've got the customer wants, you've got their fears, you've got their needs. If we go to the next one, which is slightly filled in. So the benefits is, what does your product do? So really simply, what does your product do? The experience is, what does it feel like to use your product? The features, so how does your product work? So it might be that, if we were talking about the example we've just said about the Saba, the features are that you can it might be that you look in by subject matter. It might be that if it's a biology one, that you can have that whole experience with AR, for example, but just listing the features as in bullet points. And then on the other side, you've got the customer. Now, the amount of businesses, even businesses that have been going for years and years, that do not do enough research about who their customers are, shocks me. And this is about really knowing, not making assumptions, but really knowing who your customers are. So what are the emotional drivers of them purchasing? What are their fears? So, looking at what's the risk of switching to your products, for example. What are their needs? So what are the rational drivers for them purchasing what it is that you do? What are their hidden needs? So really digging down deep. And I think the only way you can actually do this is by having conversations with people. You can test this. You can do it based on your own assumptions, but you have to test your assumptions all the time. And then looking at, what do people currently do instead of the product. So if I had to say to Saba, for example, you may have done a PhD, or you obviously know people that have done PhDs. Where do people go for this information at the moment? And I'm going to ask Saba again, actually, if you don't mind. Where do people go at the moment? Oh, she ran away.
Oh, sorry, I'm still on mute.
Yeah,
So most people for sort of technical, scientific sort of advice, and looking for what's been published, they would go for somewhere like ResearchGate or PubMed. And that is just published data, so that is what other groups have done. But they might have published that after sort of 5 years of negative data, and so it is a very glossary. It is a very it's very glossy, and it's kind of been cherry picked, right? So but if you were then struggling on an aspect of that, you don't have that network of people to then discuss, oh well, I'm struggling or I'm troubleshooting this one particular area. You don't have that unless you then go through that publication, you pick out an author, you email that author, and quite often they might be quite competitive, so they might not want to share that information with you.
No, absolutely.
So it's almost providing a community of people who can troubleshoot and help you with an aspect of your project that you're struggling with.
Okay, thank you. So essentially, you've got the value proposition, you've got the canvas, you've got the product part, you've got the customer. So if we just go back to the product bit, this is really looking at what does your product or your service do? How does it work? What features does it have? And what does using the product or the service feel like? So if I had to ask everyone on this call now, could you answer all of those questions? You can just say yes or no, or you can put an example. So if I went to, let's have a look at some of these other ones. So I'm going to come to Jeff. So Jeff is a creative director of a digital design development and marketing agency. So Jeff, if we talk about your service, what does someone feel like when they use your service?
Well, that's part of the reason why I'm actually on this call, really, because I think if you've got a service which is actually quite broad in terms of the type of service or product that you are providing, that can change depending on the context. If obviously a business is employing you to put together a custom API to connect some technology, that potentially feels quite different from someone who's using you to increase brand engagement or brand awareness. I suppose the overarching thing that we want to be tapping into is obviously a feeling of having overall kind of confidence, being able to keep up with competitors, that kind of thing. So we're obviously looking for more sort of universal umbrella kind of feelings or things that you can satisfy with the customer, but the product itself is quite varied. That's partly an issue actually when you're coming into, as opposed to businesses which are in quite niche areas where it's perhaps easier to encapsulate what
that feeling is. So just go back to the canvas where we've got the bit with the customer. So if I was going to say the same question to you as in if we were talking about in the customer context, so you've got about how you want your service to feel, but if we were talking about the customer, what emotions drive people to purchase your service? What would you say that would be?
Okay,
frustration?
It varies actually. I mean, sometimes, for a marketing manager, if you're working with a marketing manager, their main driver is to look good in front of their line manager. And that's a really key thing. So it's obviously bringing in experience and expertise that they do not have within an internal marketing function, for example. So you're making them look better. And in that situation. Other times it's about obviously building that company's product and capability, their technical infrastructure, their owned digital assets to go to market. So it's varying different things really.
Because in the same thing, you've got like, what are the rational reasons? So the rational reasons are even very different as well, aren't they? Because they're not tied to emotion.
Some of them might be just about increasing sales, and then other ones are about keeping up with competitors in terms of the digital experience that they're offering, and then other times it's literally just about looking better in front of an immediate CEO or the person they report to. So there's a few different stories there really in terms of the drivers.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is the thing. It's sometimes it's like, because we've all got different types of customer. Nobody's got one type of customer. And anyone that again, this is a frustration of mine when I sort of say to people, okay, tell me a bit about your customer, and they'll say, okay, it's a woman, and she likes makeup, and she's got green eyes, or something like that. You can't, nobody has one type of customer. We've all got lots of different types of customer. So my question, and one thing I would say, it's not a question actually, it's a statement, with the value proposition canvas, the product is always going to be the same, but actually the customer is going to change, because you're going to have different customers. They're still going to use the same product, but they're going to have different fears, they're going to have different wants, and they're going to have different needs. So just something to have a think about. I'm just going to come back to the chat. So I've got in here Michael, who's put confident and calm. So Michael, the same question, if I had to say to you, that's obviously around the emotions. What would you say the rational reasons people purchase your product or service? Oh, Michael, can you hear me? Unless you want to put it in the chat, that's completely fine. So what would you say the rational reasons why people use your product or service? So again, rational and not tied to emotion. They're sort of thoughts and feelings. Okay, don't worry. So we're going to move on. So talked about the product. So again, just we're going to share these slides out, but essentially the basics of this is, what does it do? How does it work? What features does it have? What does using the product feel like? And then in the customer, it's about what emotions would drive you to purchase this product or service. What are the rational reasons to purchase? Are there any hidden needs solved by the product that are not obvious? Why would a person not want to switch to your product? So again, I think that's something to think about that a lot of people don't think about. How is the customer currently dealing with the product, with the problem that your product or service solves? So doing a value proposition canvas, it gives you a sort of basic understanding of what your customers want and need, and how your product or your service fixes a problem for them. And that's when you can start crafting what your unique value proposition is. But before you do that, you do, even at that stage, it's worth sense checking it. And when I say sense checking it, it's sense checking it with people, existing customers, but also if you haven't got customers already, the people that you would like to be your customers. So templates wise, there's a number of different templates that you can use to phrase a value proposition. But before I go to that, Richard, do you have any questions?
Sorry, I was on mute. So I think, yes, I have a question. So what happens if I'm a business and I've been operational for 5 years and I created my value proposition on day one, let's say, with I had one product, and of course I've diversified, perhaps I've completely pivoted the company, still have that product, but lots of other products. So my question to you is, how often should I review the value proposition? At which point should I think about changing it?
So I think it's something, if we use the same example as a business model canvas, I think it's something that you've got to review all the time. If you look at the value propositions of like, some really famous brands, like if you look at Apple, for example, their value proposition has always been around, the experience of their products, and that hasn't really changed, because they've got multiple products, but it's still, Apple's value proposition is essentially, and I'm going to read it out. It's basically, in short, its promise is to create smooth experience as long as you're within Apple's ecosystem. That's basically part of it. But it's theirs is all about experience. So the experience is the product. So using Apple, they talk about, rather than talking about, oh, this phone does this and this, and you can email and you can take pictures and whatever, they distinctly say the experience is the product. And then obviously when you go onto the website, that there's things like, especially if you're looking at the iPhone, why there's nothing quite like an iPhone. Every iPhone we've made, and we mean every single one, was built on the same belief that a phone should be more than a collection of features, that above all, a phone should be an absolutely simple, beautiful, and magic to use. So, you know, if you look at value proposition, what you have to decide on is, you know, ultimately how you want to come across to your customers. Does it really clearly say what it is on the can? I'm really a big believer is I want to know straight away what it is, and we will have some examples later on. But I think it's, Richard, to answer your question, it's something that evolves. I think, you know, especially if your business model changes, or you perhaps maybe start off doing one thing and you're changing it quite drastically, or even if you're just, you know, adding additional products, that value proposition, you have to ask yourself, does that really still explain the features and benefits to a customer?
Okay, so you know, we often see the kind of the value proposition on, you know, like a website, you know, often with the vision and the mission. How do you make sure it's kind of reflected across different areas of your company? You know, make sure that it's rolled out and that it's literally in everything you do. It's the essence, no? It's
about consistency. I think consistency is key. If you're looking at, like, especially you know, if you look at like Apple, I'll use Apple as an example again. You know, they live and breathe what they say. You know, when you go onto the website, it kind of is an experience. You know, I think for me, it's about consistency, and this sort of comes back to, you know, when you're talking about your commercial offer, that messaging. You know, people have to connect with something. And when you're whether you're emailing them, or whether you've got some other form of communication, whether you're doing events or you're doing advertising, you've got to think that actually that consistency, that value proposition is still clear throughout that. And actually, you know, yeah, mission, vision and values are a different thing, but actually your mission, vision and values have to tie into what your value proposition is as well. So I would say it's got to be consistent. It's got to be clear and concise language as well.
Okay, so before we move on to the part about the commercial offer, do you want to have a look through some of the examples that you provided, Naomi?
Yeah, you can have a look. We'll talk through some of the examples. So we've got some. I've got some images on the screen. Apologies if they're a bit fuzzy. So the first one we're going to have a look at is Slack. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Slack. So if you could put the Slack picture on, that would be fab. Oh, it's not. Oh, there we go. Okay, so Slack. Their value proposition is Slack makes it downright pleasant to work together. Okay, so you can see on their website they have a number of different things, but essentially it says Slack makes it downright pleasant to work together. So that's the value proposition. They've then got a call for action on there saying, you know, try for free. They've then, you know, Slack offers like quite a different. Well, they've got a few variations of their value proposition, but essentially it focuses on ease of use, enhanced productivity, and then looking at, you know, that particular sample that I've given you of the website. They've got try it for free as a call to action, and they've also got on there the fact it's got a snapshot is, what is Slack? It's a new way to communicate faster than email and more focused than chat. So my question to everybody, especially those of you who don't know what Slack is, would you understand what that is just looking at that? To me, it's something. It's if I didn't know what Slack was, I know they're saying it's a new way to communicate. Just with that little screenshot that they've got, that's, I suppose, a little snapshot of how it kind of works. So we can see there that someone says, wait, what is Slack? It's a new way to communicate. Apparently it's faster than email and more focused on chat. I think they've explained it pretty quickly, but I'm going to bring this over to the audience. You know, what do you think about this value statement? It's very, very simple, but sometimes the simpler the better. Do you think that clearly says what they do? And that's the question for everybody. Who likes the Slack example?
Can I just give you my opinion?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, if I didn't know anything about Slack, I would say, to me, it just sounds like almost like a little bit like a sort of like a social chat room. So that's kind of like the impression I get from it, a bit like WhatsApp. So I kind of get a sort of a more professional WhatsApp, because they sort of put it between email and almost like a chat room. So and so if I knew nothing about Slack, that's what I would pick up from it, which is kind of what it is, isn't it? Like a professional.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say the same thing, and that's a really good example. It's you know, it's saying they make it, you know, they changed that downright pleasant. I think they changed that particular wording, but Slack makes it easier to work together. That's essentially what they're trying to say. But you can tell just by the comment that they've got in here that it's a new way to communicate. Faster than email, more focused than chat. Would I use it? I've used Slack in the past. Do I like it? Not particularly, because it just feels like WhatsApp to me. But again, I know people use it for lots of different reasons and things like that. Anybody else got any comments about the Slack example?
Yeah, we do use Slack. And the big thing about it for us is it's got loads of different you can have loads of different sort of chats going on. So we've got probably 20 to 25 chats going on for different things, and you don't necessarily have to go into them all. You go to one that's apparently downright pleasant. I don't know if it's downright pleasant, but I think I wouldn't. I think that main bit there. Work together. But downright pleasant. I mean, the new way to communicate, faster than email, more focused than chat. That sums it up really. But I don't know if that's it.
So if I had to break this down, so customers, and this is true of Slack. So their customers are small, medium, or large business teams. The problem that they're solving is teams need to communicate with each other in a shared space. That's the problem that they're solving, and the solution is fast messaging with the ability to create channels to keep your workspace and communications clear and organized. So that's that's the customer as the problem and the solution. I suppose what we have to ask ourselves, looking at what's on their website and what their value proposition is, does that really kind of answer that? I think it kind of does. And you know, again, what you've got to think about is you need to make it really easy for people. You don't want to overcomplicate things. I'm going to give you another example, actually. So if we can go to the next one, Richard, which is Stripe. It should be Stripe. Okay, so Stripe. They have a number of different variations of it, but this one is payments infrastructure for the internet. Okay, so you can see on there, it's got payment infrastructure for the internet. It's got a screenshot of what their app looks like. It says millions of companies of all sizes, from startups to Fortune 500s, use Stripe software and APIs to accept payments, send payouts, and manage their businesses online. So I think that is super clear about what they do. And if we had to look at, again, their customers are companies of all sizes. The problem that the customers have is managing the financial aspects of a business, including sending and receiving payments. And their solution is it's an all-in-one program that allows you to accept payments, send invoices, and manage your business in one convenient location. So what does everyone think about the Stripe example? I really like it, personally. What does everyone else think?
I think the descriptor is good, because you're getting a sense that yes, other people are using it, so it's got approval from other businesses worldwide, and also it's quite inclusive. So it's not targeting, you know, you have to be at a certain scale of business to be using our service. I think it's more problematic where they're talking about, you know, payments infrastructure for the internet, and for me that feels a little bit nebulous. But I think the descriptor is a strong one in terms of clarifying both their kind of market position, who they're for, and the actual you know, the service itself.
So it's interesting because they, you know, obviously it's payments infrastructure. It's still that they changed it. It's slightly changed now. So if you go to the website now, it says financial infrastructure for the internet. But I would agree with what you said, Jeff, because actually I think the wording, the infrastructure thing, when you Google Stripe, the description that comes up, and I'm going to copy and paste this and put this into the chat, is quite different. So let me just paste that in and let's see if it works. Hold on a sec. So can you read that? It says a complete payments platform. Scale faster by building your business on Stripe's payment processing platform, APIs to accept credit cards, manage subscriptions, send money, run a marketplace, trusted by global banks, SEO, SCA ready, e-commerce, low risk payments, etc., etc. So simplify fraud aversion. So again, that's slightly different, but I still think I would prefer what they've actually got on a complete payments platform. So rather than have payment infrastructure for the internet, I prefer actually a complete payments platform. Amin, I'm just going to come to your. Sorry,
it's David Lewis.
Hi, David.
Say we actually use Stripe as one of our payments. So when people need to pay us, it's one of the ways they can pay us for doing job onlys. And to me, just saying that it's for the internet does actually give a very narrow, like shopping cart type of area. I also find using the words that they're using there look quite daunting, in my own opinion.
Infrastructure. I think the word infrastructure.
Quite daunting. But at the same time, it does get the message across. So say that.
Yeah. Thank you. And I'm just going to go to Amin's point. He's just put, for me, it could have been clearer. It does not draw me into want to finding out more. So I actually prefer the description that they've got on Google, which is a complete payments platform, personally. Right, I'm going to give you one more example. So the next example is Grammarly. So let's wait for that to come on the screen. So I really like this one. So great writing simplified. Compose bold, clear, mistake-free writing with Grammarly's AI-powered writing assistant. So just to I'm just going to quickly clarify, their customers are anyone who wants to make their writing better. Problems, people make mistakes, grammar, spelling, formatting, clarity. The solution, which is Grammarly, a powerful AI that picks up any writing errors and suggests improvements and corrections. So what does everyone think about the Grammarly value proposition? Do you think it says what it does on the can?
Yeah, I quite like it. I think with it just having great writing and then simplified, just having 3 words, I think that's quite, in terms of marketing, that's really good, just to have 3 simple statements, like 3 simple words. And the fact that they've got sort of AI as well, that's going to draw you in, and they've given like a little example on the side as well, and they've also got it's free, so obviously that's going to entice people in from a marketing perspective. No,
absolutely. Michael's just put in the comments, I use the editor in Word, why add another thing? It's a great comment. David, you've got to leave. Okay, thank you for coming. So Grammarly, I think it's short and sweet and it's simple. I quite like it. I quite like it personally. I think we might have one more actually. Can we just go to the next one, which is Trello? So Trello helps teams move work forward, collaborate, manage product, reach new productivity peaks, from high rises to the home office. The way your teamwork is unique. Accomplish it all with Trello. And again, they've got a call to action, which sign up and it's free. What does everyone think about the Trello one? Does anyone use Trello? Yeah, I like the visual as well. Yeah. So it helps teams move work forward. I like that. So
I think it's quite wordy, isn't it? It's a bit of like a tongue twister. I think just saying helps teams accelerate, or great progress or something like that, I think would have been a bit more. I don't think they're using keywords for what they're trying to say.
So Trello helps teams move work forward.
Like moving work forward just means like, oh, you've just taken it from one step to the next step. It's like, you could put it in a wheel and a barrow and just like, carted it off, but it doesn't, I don't know. I feel like if you want to say it really accelerates, you kind of want to say it's going from here to here, not just like, oh, I've moved it a tiny bit forward. That's kind of like the impression I get from it.
You can move work forward by kicking the can down the road.
That's exactly what I get from this. I don't get like it's gonna, get you that contract or get you that $1 million deal. To me it just seems a bit
So I'm just going to come to the chat because Amin's put a good point in. So he's basically said Trello is great for project management. We've used it previously. For me, because this is not selling how good they actually are. So Amin, I don't know whether you can come on to the mic, but how would you describe it? Because you use it. Oh. Okay, so I'm going to come to the comments again. Michael said the image is stronger than the words. Nathan, it's missing a screenshot of what it actually looks like. Yeah, the others show exactly what it does, whereas this leaves you in the dark. Yeah, I would agree with that. Melanie, I guess something like get it done would be more powerful. Yeah. So Michael, you said it doesn't say efficiency or effective. Vicky, it isn't emotive. It doesn't focus on the problem it solves. Oh, don't worry, Amin. And then Michael, from high rises to the home office sounds like a bad translation. I would agree with that. I don't like that particular bit. And I don't like the bit where it says the way your teams work is unique. And then it's got a dash that says accomplish it all with Trello. That doesn't. Sue, that's a really good point. Could include complete work. Yeah, I think so. So just going back to we're going to remove the descriptions out, but just to talk to you about Trello. Their customers are business teams, whether they're big ones or little ones. The problem is remote teams need to collaborate to manage projects and work together. And this is a platform to do, that's what the problem is. And they're sort of saying that, well, there's not a platform to do that. The solution is a collaboration platform that works with your business needs to increase productivity and make managing projects easier. So actually that statement there would probably be better than what they put in their value proposition. So, essentially a value proposition, as you've seen, I've given you some examples. It's got to be clear and concise. I think that you've got to use everyday language of your target audience. You've got to be able to clearly define what you offer. You've got to explain how you relieve a pain point for people. And what I've got for you is, and you'll be able to, we're going to send you the slides and things if you need them. But there are a couple of really great ways of phrasing a value proposition of a product. So let's just say you've done the value proposition canvas. I've actually got some templates. So don't know whether you've ever read a book called Crossing the Chasm by Jeff Moore, but he's got a really good template for formatting the value proposition. So what he says, and I'm going to put it in the chat and you can see it and with an example. Just give me one sec. So for the target customer who needs and wants, so if we put this into the chat so you can see what I'm talking about. Hold on a sec. Hold on, I'm just trying to put everything in the chat. Where are we? Okay, hold on a sec. For some reason it's not working, Richard. I'm trying to put something into the chat and it won't let me do it. Could you just stop sharing that screen a sec? I don't know if it's got anything to do with that. No, let me just move this up here. Right, okay, here we go. Right, so this is one template. So for target customer who needs or wants, that's the problem. Our product or service is then talking about category or industry that benefits, then you're talking about your feature and benefits. So if, for example, we were talking, using an example of a sustainable fashion retailer, using that particular format, you might use something like this. So I'm just going to copy and paste this and put this in the chat so you can get an idea. And there are a number of different formulations of how you can do this. But for example, if it was a fashion retailer, you might say for eco-conscious fashionistas who want to look good without harming the planet, our clothing is the latest fashion that is made from sustainable, sourced and recycled materials. So that's one particular format that you can use. There are other simple ones, even more simplified ones. So for example, it could be that you use this particular format, which I'm going to put into the chat as well. This is essentially, we help X do to Y by doing Z. That's it. So using our eco-fashion friendly fashion store, you could say we help eco-conscious fashionistas to look great and lower their environmental impact by creating sustainable clothing in the latest trends. So there's just some formulas of how you. I've got a bunch more. I'm not going to whistle on any longer, but what I'm going to just go back to the sort of commercial offering of this. When you're talking about it, you've got to be consistent. I can't stress that enough. You know, whether you are talking to somebody at a networking event or you're doing an advertisement, make sure that you are consistent with what you're talking about. And, you know, making sure that it's really simple to understand. You know, I've shown you some examples, you know, some of the things like Trello, for example, we weren't quite clear about that, but you've also got to explain how you relieve a pain point that somebody has, and make sure that if you are displaying things on your website that you've got customer touch points, that you're really clear about those as well. And I think it's also, I'm not saying that you have to do this you know, in your sort of messaging, but if someone said to you, you know, what sets you apart from your competitors, you need to be able to clearly be able to say what's the difference. So I'm gonna stop now. I'm gonna put you back onto Richard, and he's going to talk to you a little bit more, just a couple of questions, but also just sort of talk a little bit more about Help to Grow.
Yeah, thank you, Naomi. And yeah, I guess in terms of the questions, you know, I'd rather open it up to the audience. So I think we have time for perhaps maybe 2 or 3, just basically regarding any questions relating to the content that we've just discussed, or perhaps it's something specific that you know, is relating to your business. So yeah, please fire away. I see we already have one in the chat. Is there an ideal length for these statements?
Yeah, so I would say not more than 1 or 2 sentences. I think ideally if you can get it into one, absolutely perfect. But again, it's got to be really clear. And this is not something that you can do overnight. It's something that you've got to sense check. You know, you might think that you've got a value proposition that is super clear. If you're an existing customer, if you're existing business, ask your customers what they think about if you're thinking about changing it. If you're a completely brand new business, when you're talking to people, so you know, Sabra, at some point, you might need investment to get this going. You're talking to Innovate UK, for example. So you know, if you want to get some money from Innovate UK, you've got to be really, really clear on this. And it's just making sure that actually in that 1 or 2 sentence that people can understand exactly what it is that you do and whom you serve.
Okay, any other questions from the audience?
Yeah, go for it, Saba.
I was just going to ask, so what's the difference between a value proposition and then like your mission statement? Is there like a clear, or is it kind of just all merged into one?
No, not really. So your mission statement is, you know, really, the mission statement is defined as a statement that declares the purpose of an organisation and how they serve the customers. A vision statement is the future. Mm-hmm. So on your website, you're going to have your vision and your mission, but actually value proposition is something different. They're intertwined, but you know, your vision, for example, is what the future is, but your mission, it kind of has parts of your value proposition.
Yeah.
But you need all of them.
Okay.
Because you're going to use them in different ways, and then you know, we can talk about this you know, all day long, but then you've got things like, you know, your values and your goals. But I think there's a piece of work where you have to think about, okay, this is what we think our value proposition is. Then you've got some work around what your mission and vision is. Then you've got to talk about what your values are. And actually your value proposition has to align with your mission, your vision, and the values of the organization.
So to use the same sort of words that you've got in your other statements in your value proposition.
There's going to be some crossovers, yeah.
Okay.
But again, you've got to sense check all of this. You can't make assumptions.
Okay. Any other questions? I think we have time for one more.
We have a problem in that we deal with the consumer and the business customer. So
Yeah.
what is a value proposition for a customer, for a consumer is not necessarily the same for a business customer.
Yeah.
Trying to put that all into one sentence becomes difficult.
Yeah. What is your value proposition at the moment?
We keep people safe when looking at height.
Okay. So to be fair, you know, I think that can't. Well, do you know what? It kind of does. It kind of does, because you know you're keeping everyone safe at height. Obviously, it's the businesses around health and safety, but it's actually Joe Bloggs who's walking under a ladder or something as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So actually, I think that's pretty good.
Okay. We're on the right path then.
Michael, you just put a question in. You said, is there an order that these should all appear? So I think the first thing that people should see should be your value proposition, because that's the thing that's going to think that they want to read more. Any other questions? I know it's a lot to take in. You know, usually if we were doing something like this, we'd do it over half a day or something like that. But what I would suggest is if you're not clear, just go right back down to basics. Start off with a value proposition canvas. You know, do some work on who your customers are, and then try it in all together. But again, I think it's part of that process where you're looking at your mission, your vision, and your values. And I think they are things that you do need to revisit all the time, very similar to what your business model as well.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Naomi. So I'm just going to steal 5 more minutes of your time. So as Naomi mentioned, and as I also alluded to at the start, you know, this is kind of like a taster session of just one of the modules that we deliver as part of Help to Grow. So basically, Help to Grow is a program which we've been running for around 1.5 years now. And the next one will be starting on the 18th of April, 2023. The main aims are to really get you to rethink how you are doing business. We consider things like your value proposition, your commercial offer, and to really kind of explore possibilities for you to expand into new product lines, to ways to optimize your business processes, really look at how you are doing your marketing, and then you know, you look at all different elements of your operations, your finances, and let me just go. So basically, this has been something which has been pushed out by the UK government. It is 90% funded by the UK government, and the aim is for them to reach 30,000 SMEs. They've seen that really, you know, it's a key point in the economy where they want to push growth, and they really want to encourage the business leaders within those different companies to drive forward that change. As I mentioned, it's really encouraging you to take time out of your business to work on the business. You know, we all, in our roles, you know, whether you're the director, owner of a company, you know, you run a team, or perhaps, you know, you work in a marketing position or a sales position, you know, it's often we can get stuck in a rut in how we are doing things. And it's really trying to encourage you to take a step back and think, okay, could I do that better? Is that the best tool? Am I making the best of my time? And we have really seen that with people that have been on the program, that they have really made small changes and really seen a return on that investment in terms of the time they've invested in the program. So it's aimed at senior leaders and business professionals. It's delivered by a mix of experienced entrepreneurs, business consultants, and some of our faculty as well within the business school. So just a little bit about the program. So the next one will be starting on the 18th of April. We've had, I think now 120 different companies that have been through the program from right across the Northwest, Greater Manchester, beyond. So we've had even companies from Buckinghamshire, North Wales, Staffordshire, Yorkshire that have also taken part on the program. So it's 50 hours. It's delivered over 12 weeks. We slot it into one morning a week so that it doesn't disrupt your schedule. For the April one, it'll be on the Tuesday morning. You will also get 10 hours working with a dedicated mentor, which is actually matched up depending on your industry, kind of where you see your kind of issues within the company, and they are actually matched up to make sure that you are getting the most out of that mentoring process. As we understand that you're not all actually situated in Salford or Greater Manchester, it's actually been split up, so 75% of it is actually delivered online. Of course, it's facilitated by one of the entrepreneurs, consultants, or business faculty. And then it's kind of split up with four practical interactive workshops, which are delivered face-to-face actually at the business school. So the idea is that you kind of have those kind of face-to-face touch points, which is good for the networking element, but then at the same time, it's not, meaning you have to deal with the amazing traffic that we have here in Manchester. So alongside that as well, and Naomi on the previous cohort did deliver a few of these peer-to-peer sessions, and this is where kind of similar to this, that you kind of really drill down, and the right questions are asked to really make sure that you're drilling down into your company and sharing those best practices also with other industries. So we've had lots of different sectors represented on this call today. From science to HR to engineering, and each sector will have their different kind of ways of doing business. And the idea is that you are sharing and you are pooling that knowledge, and that you are learning from your senior colleagues that are in other sectors and within other companies. So this is something that is encouraged throughout. So it's delivered from a holistic perspective. So you look at all different areas of a business, and we try to give you tools, as we have done today as well, as we go through the program, and you can kind of cherry pick the ones which kind of fit best for you and fit best your company. I'm not going to go through this, but just in a nutshell, each of the squares basically represents one of the mornings that and the ones in dark orange are the ones which are delivered face-to-face. So the idea is that you'll have 2 online, 1 face-to-face, 2 online, 1 face-to-face. The online ones are recorded. So if for some reason you are unable to attend, then you can actually rewatch it. Sadly, the face-to-face ones aren't. And you can see module 4 here, the vision, mission, and values. That's kind of what we try to craft this morning's workshop around. And it's split into 4 sections. Also interwoven into that are elements of kind of EDI and also sustainability. So just really finally, some of the kind of key business outcomes. So you actually create a business growth plan, which is tailored to your company. You do that together with your mentor. And actually in module 12, we look at ways in which you can then take that back into your company and implement that. So that could be within 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. It looks to exchange best practices with other senior leaders. Perhaps you've just left school and you've started your own company and gone up through and started your own company, and you are now a director. Or perhaps you have gone through and done the full MBA, etc. This is for everybody. It's really if you have that business knowledge, that business acumen, this is really trying to get you to capitalize on that. And yeah, you're constantly working on your business. So we will give you kind of business cases as you go through, but the idea is that the business case is your business or your team or whatever sphere that may be. Yeah, this is kind of what I explained, that it starts the 18th of July and goes through to the 3rd of July when it's split up by the case study workshops. Just some of the team. This will change slightly for the upcoming one, but most of them are delivered on all of the past cohorts. Yeah, just in a nutshell, so we've had 35 plus different industry sectors take part, 100 plus companies, and they've been operational for 1 to 240 years. So a vast range there. And I'm going to share these slides with you, but you can just see there's a large number of companies that have been on it. A photo of half of the cohort that participated in December last year. And the eligibility requirements: you need to be an SME based in the UK, have between 5 to 249 employees, contractors or freelancers, have been operational for a year, be a senior leader, and unfortunately you cannot be a charity. And as I mentioned, it's 90% funded by the UK government. So it's 75%, 9%, so £750. And we have actually an early bird up until the end of February. And the idea is that, for anybody on this call, we can uphold that. So I know I've kind of rushed through this, but I will send some information around afterwards, along with the recording of this session. If you would like any more information, I can go into a lot more detail about some of this, or if you have any specific questions, please just reach out to me. Happy to have a call whenever. Answer any questions. So I will also send around, if you would like to register your interest for this, I will send around the link for that as well. And I know that's been quite quick, but I would just like to hand it over to Naomi, if you'd like to say any more words.
Yeah, just really enjoyed your participation this morning. There we go. And you know, I think it's something. We've got the slides that we're happy to share. I've shared my LinkedIn in the chat, so happy to connect with any of you. But good luck with everything, and I'm sure that I will see some of you again very soon. But thank you very much for your time, and thank you for signing up.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you so much. Thank you, Naomi. As always, lovely to see you, and thank you for sharing your knowledge. And please stay in touch, and I hope to see you all at some workshop or event soon. Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.